And we're live, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Dina. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Before we get into our agenda, I would ask that we take a moment of silence to recognize Walter Borthwick, who passed away earlier this week. Many of us knew Walter. He was a long-serving mayor here in Wasaga Beach, and I would say that he is a major part of one of the reasons that we're in such great shape here in Wasaga Beach today. So if we could just take a moment and keeping Walter and his family in our thoughts. Thank you. And I do believe for the public watching, we do have a book of condolences in the front foyer. So we encourage those who wish to send a message to the family to come in and sign the book. With that, disclosure of pecuniary interest, I am not aware of any at this point. However, if throughout the meeting you find that you do, please declare it at that time. Regular meeting of council minutes, December 21st, 2021. If I could have a mover and seconder for those motions, those minutes. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 21st, 2021 are hereby adopted as circulated. Is there any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Deputations, presentations, petitions, and public meetings. We do have Mr. Jeffrey Abrams and Ms. Janice Atwood-Petkovsky here in attendance today to present a report with regard to a code complaint. So with that, I will pass it over to you. Welcome, Janice and Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, Worship. Thank you for having us here today. Jeff is on another square somewhere on this meeting, and we have just a few comments. We are your Integrity Commissioner, as you know, and so are providing this report today. The complaint was that Councillor Belanger improperly shared a private invitation to the groundbreaking event. Sorry, I'm stumbling over that. That he publicly posted on social media unfounded and inaccurate statements about the mayor, and that he attempted to intimidate staff so that an uninvited member of the public be given access to the groundbreaking event. And the crux of the issue was that the Beach Booster, a local online publication, was not invited to the invitation-only groundbreaking event for the Twin Pads Arena and Library. At the event, the morning of the event, Councillor Belanger attempted to pressure staff to allow the representative of the Beach Booster to enter. And following the event, he posted on social media making statements about the mayor. Those actions gave rise to the complaint. We investigated the complaint, reviewed the materials, and interviewed the relevant individuals. The report is quite extensive, and we will not go through it in detail. We make no finding as to whether Councillor Belanger actually forwarded the electronic invitation or simply told the editor about the event. We did find that the councillor's conduct towards staff, while inappropriate, did not rise to the level of intimidation, but we did find that his social media post was contrary to the code of conduct. And for the reasons detailed in the report, we explained that the town did not include the Beach Booster in its invitations to the media to attend the groundbreaking event. The relationship between the Beach Booster and the town has been strained, and in the town's view, the publication has failed to abide by the principles of responsible ethical journalism. Our role is not to determine whether the Beach Booster has conducted itself ethically. However, the town was certainly within its authority in limiting attendance at the groundbreaking event and in not including the Beach Booster as an attendee. We are tasked with determining whether Councillor Belanger's comments on social media and his conduct towards staff at the event reflect contraventions of the code of conduct. As we note in the report, This is not a case of freedom of the press, and several media representatives were in attendance at the event. Pressuring staff to do something different at the threshold of the event, at the doorway, is inappropriate conduct towards staff. As we say, we find that it was inappropriate, but does not rise to the level of intimidation. However, publicly maligning another member of council with inaccurate and unfounded statements is inappropriate under the Code of Conduct. The public deserves to have its elected representatives treat each other with respect and decorum, and to publicly debate issues in the proper forum, and to resist the urge to simply take shots and snipe at each other publicly. We hasten to add that our relationship with Councillor Belanger has always been extremely cordial and professional, and he's always demonstrated the utmost decorum in all of our interactions. We would hope that he would demonstrate the same decorum and professionalism in all of his public-facing statements in the future. You have our report before you. Our responsibility is to investigate and make findings. We have done that, and that part is done. Our responsibility is also to make recommendations to you as to appropriate sanctions, and we have done that. Council's responsibility is to consider our recommendation, having reviewed our report. Under the circumstances, we think that a sanction is in order, although in our view, a more significant sanction is not necessary to make the point. We are recommending a 10-day suspension of pay, and we can respond to questions if any.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Thank you for your presentation. Before I open it up to comments or questions from council members, I do want to say that I don't take complaints against council members lightly. The events that happened that day, there was concerns raised from other members of council with me as well. And the town spends a lot of time correcting misinformation and ensuring that the residents have the truth. For a member of council to spread inaccurate information about another member of council unfairly affecting their reputation is unacceptable. The town has spent time asking that members of the public not bully or harass our staff as it was becoming a problem, and to have a member of council do that is also not acceptable. I will leave it at that, and I will open it up for questions or comments of the report that is in our agenda. No questions or comments at this time? Oh, Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. Just a comment to the Integrity Commissioners. I thought that the report was very thorough. It was a very in-depth investigation. Your explanations were clear of the process that you followed and the analysis that you used to come up to the recommendations. So at this point, I feel those recommendations are fair, and I will be supporting them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we do have Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to state that the mayor did give me an opportunity to apologize and avoid this situation. And I will also admit that I was very frustrated the day of the event. In my opinion, I believe the event should have been planned and conducted differently. And I still, in my opinion, believe that a local business treatment related to the event was unacceptable, and do point out that whatever decision was made about the ethics or credibility of this local business did not come to council. That was a decision made outside of council. Those are my comments. Thank you. Oh, just one last thing is the most important thing to me and how I conduct myself is that next fall, all of our residents will input on what they believe to be the professionalism and motives of both my words and actions, as it will be for everyone that reruns for positions in our municipality. Thank you.
Are there any further comments or questions? If I can have a mover and seconder for this motion, please. I can read the motion first. Sorry about that. That council receive this report for information and that it be posted on the town of Wasaga Beach website for public access. And further, that having been found to have breached the code of conduct for members of the council of the town of Wasaga Beach, the remuneration paid by the town to Councillor Belanger be suspended for a period of 10 days, commencing with his next pay period. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. All those in favor? Opposed? You're abstaining, Councillor Belanger, I'm assuming? You're muted.
Yes, if I may.
I understand the situation. I'm just not going to vote to have 10 days pay taken away. Thanks.
Okay, nothing was said before the vote, so that's why I'm just looking for clarification. Janice?
I was going to say and I'm sorry, we should have probably mentioned this at the outset. While the member may participate in the discussion, the member may not vote on a matter affecting the imposition of a sanction.
Thank you. So the record will show that Councillor Belanger is not voting on this item, and it did pass by a vote of 6-0. Janice and Jeffrey, thank you again for being in attendance today.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Next, we have a petition, Tona Trail petition. We have Ari Infusini and Jennifer Bell, who are in attendance to present to council a petition on behalf of Tona Trail residents. So we welcome them to our meeting. Good afternoon.
Hello.
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, this is being done on behalf of my neighbor, Joy Chu Tucker. She did all the paperwork and footwork on this. Unfortunately, work prevented her from attending, so she asked me to stand in. Just a little bit of background about me. I worked construction a lot of my life. My first 8 years, I worked with my father, who owned a construction company. It's how I put myself through school. And I do have a degree in civil engineering and a degree in mechanical engineering. So I do have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to these issues, because I did work them. So Joy asked me to just basically read what she's got here. I'll start off with the points that she made. Safety issues. Rerouting of traffic on Tona Trail without notice or having a proper traffic control plan in place cause children and residents living on Tona Trail to be unsafe on an otherwise quiet street. And I'd like to add pets to that too. I have 2 dogs myself, and there were a couple of close calls. Cars speeding on Tona Trail that have to be rerouted, heavy equipment and machinery using Tona Trail, as well as tractors and heavy backhoes, etc. Hazard to quiet daycare facility at the corner, and several incidents of children almost struck by vehicles at all affected resident homes. Children attending St. Noel School, no pathway or sidewalk, hazard for access, and school buses now rerouted. Considerable cost and inconvenience. Second point, noise and vibration. We all experience this. All neighborhood close to Ramblewood were affected by the noise and vibration of the heavy equipment operating. Many residents have noted subsequent cracks in their basements and have concerns that the vibration has compromised their foundation. The noise itself was very intolerable. Constant dirt, mud, dust clouds, no cleanup or control. Construction workers taking breaks and working near residents' properties using profanities and getting too close to children had to be spoken to numerous times. Residents on Tona Trail had to drive daily an extra 1.5 miles out of their normal route to access main roads due to Ramblewood closure. Development company erroneously cut through Rogers' cable system, and residents lost cable and internet service for 3 days as a result of their negligence. Rogers would not reimburse. It was due to a building activity. Another point, water turned off on September 20th from 9 in the morning till 5 for residents. This later created a problem with drinking water being discolored for 2 days preceding. We all experienced that. Heavy equipment operating beyond regulated hours, up to including 10 o'clock p.m. Now, from my days of working in the city, 7 was the maximum. and I can verify with joy that it did go on into the night. This is very disruptive and changes quality of life for residents. Residents have noted watershed problems with the development, whereby flooding was evident. Holes were being dug, then refilled, and dug again. This concerns residents, and there have been flood issues in this area in the past, and has residents wondering if a proper drainage design brief was completed and that the town engineers actually took into consideration the hydrogeological assessments for this area, as there are many natural springs and aquifers that were destroyed or tapped into. Trees in this project area were clear cut and shredded. Just from my own personal, there was nothing prettier than looking out my living room window and seeing all those beautiful trees along Ramblewood. Gone, all of them. Some should have been left. I mean, there's nothing. It's like you guys did strip mining. Anyways, prior to any notifications to residents and no buffer of trees left as previously advised, which uprooting of the trees and clear cutting the entire area is not only unappealing to local residents, it devalues property and also adds to water problems as there are no longer trees to absorb water. Wildlife was totally disrupted as deer, coyotes, and wolves were seen on resident properties, and I can attest to coyotes running down Tona Trail. Mailboxes were moved numerous times due to the construction and were inaccessible for days at times, inconveniently placed and disrupted postal service to the area. Fencing at the back of residences have been destroyed by construction or large gaps left under fencing, permitting animals to enter. The town of Wasaga Beach posted on May 26, 2021, a Ramblewood Drive reconstruction contract number PW 2021-01 notice of construction, stating that there would be some disruption to traffic with only one lane open and a short duration of full road closure. As Ramblewood closure has been ongoing, to date has been over 8 months. Obviously, Ramblewood's complete now. This was written a little bit earlier, but yeah, about a total of 8 months. The residents do not perceive this as a temporary road closure or short-term duration. Town of Wasaga Beach posted on Friday, November 26th, there would be an extension to the temporary road closure from May 25th, 2021 to December 3rd, 2021. That's a pretty big jump. This is unacceptable. No thought or consideration was given to the local residents. Many health and safety issues have been compromised. So, she also had a further thing here. I guess it was a bit of a summation. Let's see, rerouting of traffic requires a traffic control plan, which takes into account safety issues. A notice of rerouting is also to be posted and copy sent to residents of the affected area. Noise and vibration, there are to be regular tests done to determine the level of vibration by machinery. These were not done. The levels of vibration were far beyond acceptable levels. If you come home and your dishes are rattling around in the kitchen in the cupboard, it's a bit much. And that was happening to all of us. Residents' complaints were ignored through the process. Residents also were told tests would be conducted but were never done. Damage to home, especially foundations, must now be determined. Personal side note, I did see gentlemen on the other side of Tona Trail. I live on the side that's furthest away from Ramblewood. The people that directly back onto Ramblewood, there were two gentlemen, I'd say late spring, early summer, that were walking around with cameras taking pictures of people's foundations. I guess that was to establish a data point, I would guess. Developers are required to take steps necessary for controlling excessive dust and dust clouds by watering area construction. That was never done. Health and safety breaches and unacceptable behavior on children. Part of rerouting, which should have been approved by residents, extended period of time to drive from home, as well as dangers to backing in and out of the driveway with excessive traffic speeds up and down Tona Trail, as well as heavy equipment which should never be using Tona Trail. All residents would like to view under the Highway Traffic Act traffic control plan that was approved, as well as the notice of rerouting. Carelessly cutting through a cable system, we went through that. Water being turned off, we went through that. Water should have been tested during and after the process for safety. It was never tested. On my part, I had to let the water run for an entire day before it stopped being yellow. This is a bylaw issue. Although residents complained, 2 residents, by filling official residence complaint forms, bylaw and the town of Wasaga Beach allowed this to continue. Workers often work and created noise up to 10:30 p.m. Drainage, we touched it. Trees, we touched it. Mailboxes, we touched that. Destruction of property, cracking basements. Potential resolutions for residents. All homes on Tona Trail and affected area could be assessed for property damage, and all repairs and cost of homes for inspections to be responsible for the town of Wasaga Beach and through contractor insurance. I've lived here since 2014, and my basement was as dry as a bone up until last year. Last year, I did find water in my basement. And that was right around when you guys did the berm. It was right after the berm was done behind my house. When I say you guys, I mean the construction companies. An amount of compensation to be determined for the rerouting inconvenience, loss of enjoyment of life, as well as serious safety issues. And finally, documentation and proof provided by the town of Wasaga Beach Engineering and Public Works of compliance with certificates, permits, and adhering to the agreement that was established between the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority and the town of Wasaga Beach. Name of the agreement, the NBCA Municipal Partnership Agreement. This requires further discussion at the least. And a final point, I did at one point when all these heavy equipment, heavy trucks, and people being rerouted were racing down my street, I did call the town. I apologize, I don't recall who I spoke to, but he told me that a speed monitoring radar sign would be put on my street. And when you drive too fast, it flashes, tells you your speed. It was installed, was kept up for 3 days, then removed, but it was never even plugged in. It was put up there like a scarecrow. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Infusini, for your presentation. I know that there is a staff report later in our agenda that speaks to the concerns. We do have a recommendation here to receive your presentation for information. I will ask if there's any member of council who has a question of Mr. Infusini at this point. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Your Worship. And with all due respect to Mr. Infusini, I recall an email coming to us from a resident of the Tona Trail expressing their representation of a number of residents on Tona Trail, and I'm not sure if it's the same individual you referred to, Mr. Infusini.
It probably was Joy Tucker.
But in that email, she stated that the residents of Tona Trail were going to initiate a class action lawsuit against the town. On that basis, I think it would be totally inappropriate for any of us to make any comment whatsoever with the potential of a pending lawsuit.
No, that would be between the town and Joy then. But we have all signed the petition.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wells. Your memory is better than mine. At this point, I don't see any other cards, so I would look for a mover and seconder to receive this for information, that council received the petition from the Tona Trail residents pertaining to Tona Trail for information. Councillor Watson and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Infusini, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, moving on to comment and question period. Do we have anyone registered for today?
No, Your Worship, we have no one signed up for today.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. Correspondence received for information. We have a letter from the Honorable Carolyn Mulrooney. If I could have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Foster. The council received the letter from the Honorable Carolyn Mulrooney, Minister of Transportation, regarding the 2021-22 gas tax program, advising that the town of Wasaga Beach will be eligible to receive an allocation of $226,205 for this program year for information. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor? Oh, Councillor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. My question was just if the 226,000, if any of that could have been or can be put towards items related to transit that were already in the budget, and whether that potentially would free up any funds for any other initiative that council would deem to follow up. Thank you.
Jocelyn?
Thank you, Your Worship. We do budget for this funding each year, as we do generally receive it annually. So it does go to cover operating costs of our transit program, and it wouldn't create any additional availability of funding as we've already budgeted for it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I've read the motion. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Committee boards and staff reports. We have coordinated committee. We will start with Councillor Kinney for community services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights of the January 13th, 2022 Community Services Section Coordinated Committee. The committee received a presentation from bed and breakfast operator Kathy Lane regarding the zoning challenges she faces with the B&B she operates at the west end of town. She has installed kitchen facilities in 2 of her 3 units without objection from certain agencies. The configuration means the B&B does not meet municipal zoning requirements. She would like to continue operating with this layout due to the challenges of COVID, COVID presents to the traveling public. Council received the presentation for information and referred the matter to staff for further review. Committee also received a presentation from Kathleen Caswell of the Wasaga Beach Climate Action Team. The team presented a series of recommendations to facilitate climate change improvement in the community and formally asked how the team can work with the town to implement the climate action plan. Committee members discussed the presentation and received it for information. The town representatives are meeting with the team to discuss the presentation further. Later in the meeting, the committee received a report that outlined climate change mitigation and adaptation steps that the town has taken. The report is available for review on the town website. Committee received the monthly fire department incident report for information. In December, the department responded to 149 incidents, including 2 structure fires and 118 medical calls. The department responded to 1,852 calls in total for 2021 compared to 1,470 calls in 2020. Finally, the committee received the Wasaga Beach Public Library 2022-2026 strategy plan for information. The library develops a new plan every 5 years to address the challenging needs of the community. The plan includes a new vision statement, a new mission statement, new vision statement, and a series of new goals. The document is available for review on the town website. On behalf of the Community Service Section of Coordinated Committee, I ask the Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Kinney? Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Your Worship. And it's not a question necessarily to Mark. It's a reply from a question that was asked about the strategic plan, the library strategic plan. And there was a question from the Deputy Mayor asking, you know, if we talked about the internal partnerships. And that was, I took that back to the board, and although it's never been mentioned separately in previous strategic plans or not, it was basically, we thought, self-evident when we talk about, you know, the community partnerships. And the library has always worked to avoid duplication of services for efficiency and cost within the town. So when we talk about community organizations, we're talking about including being a member of the town, being part of the town, if you will. And that's been shown in the design of the Twin Pad Arena and Library, and the working between the CEO of the library and the head of facilities, etc. And then I also was pointed out there are two goals that kind of address that. What the number 2 is, they nurture community connections that encourage library usage. That is the goal of the library, is to encourage library uses and expand opportunities for lifelong learning, literacy, culture, and socialization, which is goal number 3. So I told the deputy mayor that I'd address it, so I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kinney. You're muted.
Not now. Thank you. Your Worship, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Councillor Foster for adding more meat and potatoes to my report, and I appreciate the information that was shared. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Public Works, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the January 13th, 2022 Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received a number of Public Works related monthly reports for information, including the Capital Works Project Status Report, the Water Pollution Control Plant Report, and the Drinking Water System Report. Another report received for information was the Wasaga Beach Transit Ridership Report for December. The report notes people took 5,221 rides on town buses for the month, compared to 4,876 rides for the same period a year ago. For 2021, people took 53,693 rides on town buses. The system remains an affordable way to get around our community, and for that reason, an important service that the town provides. On behalf of the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council receive this report, and I will comment about Carolyn Mulroney's letter and the $226,000 that goes towards keeping the service going in the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments of Councillor Watson's report? Okay, moving on to Development Committee, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights of the January 13th, 2022 Development Services section of Coordinated Committee. The committee received for information the Building Department Activity Summary Report for December. The Building Department issued 142 permits for the month with an estimated construction value of $42 million. The total number of permits issued for residential units in December was 125 with an estimated construction value of $41 million. The total number of permits issued for the year was 871, breaking a 2004 record of 870. The total number of residential permits issued for the year was 530, breaking a 2004 record of 493. Residential construction values for 2021 were 184 million, surpassing a 2017 record of 106 million. The past year was also record-setting for non-residential construction values, with the town recording 88 million, surpassing a 2019 record of 17 million. And the total value of all construction for 2021 was 272 million, surpassing the 2019 record of 123 million. This clearly represents a strong level of development activity in our community, and is another signal of a strong local economy. Finally, committee also received for information the Economic Development Work Plan for 2022. Staff will work on a number of projects over the course of the year, including implementation of an economic development strategy, the development of a comprehensive branding strategy, the rollout of the annual facade improvement program, the annual business visitation program, tourism initiatives, as well as a number of other projects. On behalf of the Development Services section of the Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Foster on his report? Okay, we will move to General Government. Deputy Mayor Bray, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the January 13th, 2022 General Government Services section of Coordinated Committee. Committee recommends that Council receive the multi-year accessibility plan progress reports for information. Committee is also recommending an update to the plan using information from those reports. As well, Committee recommends Council receive for information the draft 2022 to 2026 multi-year accessibility plan, and that council consider ratification of that plan with it going into effect February 1st, 2022, as outlined in the related staff report. Committee is recommending that council receive for information the Municipal Law Enforcement Department's monthly report for December. The department received 119 calls for service during the month. Calls related to a number of different matters, including property standards, parking, noise, animal control, and business licensing. As well, committee is recommending that council receive for information a staff report that outlines the actions taken by the town to mitigate the effects of climate change. The report is available on the town website for review and notes a number of initiatives, including the implementation of LED streetlights. Committee received a January 7th letter from Collingwood G&M Hospital. The letter asked the town to support the hospital's bid for an MRI unit. Committee agreed to provide the hospital a letter of support from the municipality. Committee discussed a motion from Councillor Joe Belanger regarding the creation of a whistleblower policy for the town. Committee directed staff to research the matter and report to committee in March. Such policies protect staff from retaliation if they raise concerns about impropriety. Finally, committee also received for information a verbal COVID-19 update from the town's communications officer, deputy fire chief, and our chief administrative officer. On behalf of the General Government Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on the Deputy Mayor's report? Okay, seeing none, we do have a motion that council receive the Coordinated Committee reports of January 13th, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? We've got Councillor Wells and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we have the Committee of the Whole report from January 20th. The following are the highlights from the January 20th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Committee is recommending to council the adoption of a bylaw to deem lots 1 through 5 on Plan 1450 as no longer within a registered plan of subdivision. The land is the site of Fire Station 2 on Mosley Street in the West End. The town built the fire hall in the 1970s and the building is undergoing renovations and an addition. The deeming ensures the building is on one parcel of land. Committee is recommending council authorize staff to renew the town's insurance for the year at a cost of $567,639 with intact public entities. Committee noted that insurance rates for municipalities is trending higher due to a number of factors. In the town's case, the cost is $79,849 higher than budgeted. Committee recommends council approve drawing the additional funds from in-year surplus amounts if available or general reserves if required. Committee is recommending that council approve the updated grants to organizations policy. Committee also recommends to council that the name of the policy change to grants and sponsorships to organizations. In addition, committee recommends the inclusion of a clause in the policy allowing for an exception to the payment sequence at staff's discretion. Committee is recommending that council authorize the treasurer to proceed with processing the transfer of the Main Street Bridge floating rate capital loan to a long-term 5-year debenture with Infrastructure Ontario with a principal amount of $3 million as outlined in the staff report. In addition, committee is recommending that council authorize the mayor and treasurer to accept the interest rate presented by Infrastructure Ontario for the debenture. As well, committee recommends that council approve the unbudgeted expense portion of the debenture estimated at $55,500 and that it be covered through in-year surplus funds if available or general reserves if required. On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Is there any discussions on this report? If I can have a mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Belanger and Councillor Foster. The council received the Committee of the Whole report of January 20th, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. The next two items are dealing with accounts, and I will look to Deputy Mayor Bray. Did you have any comments on these?
I did, and I was going to start by saying it affected both 8.3 and 8.4, but you beat me to it. These accounts have been reviewed and supported by the respective standing committees so that we're not just approving one big amount here. We have reviewed them at Coordinated Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could have a mover and seconder that council approve the November 1st to 30th, 2021 accounts in the amount of $6,425,631.07. Moved by Councillor Wells and Councillor Watson. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And that Council approve the December 1st to 30th, 2021 accounts in the amounts of $13,377,186.27. If I could have a mover and seconder. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we have the CAO's report with regard to a beachfront lease. The motion reads that Council approve the lease amendment for 41 to 47 Beach Drive, upper unit. Is there any discussion on this item? If I could have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster, all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next is the Director of Public Works report that is in response to the petition that we received earlier. Did we have any questions on this? I know that Kevin is with us. If there are any questions, if not, I will look for a mover and seconder for the motion. Oh, Councillor Watson, you go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to comment that Kevin's report is very thorough report, and it always amazes me how when I heard the presentation earlier today, all the inaccuracies and exaggerations and fake news, quite frankly, of all the things that happened. And I think Kevin has addressed each one of them, and I think 99% of them did not happen. So it's disappointing to hear that going out, but I'm very happy to see a report concluding with the conclusions that he came up with. Thank you.
Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Worship. I too read Kevin's report, and it was very informative, and I believe it addressed the majority, if not all, of the concerns that were voiced by our petition person. I think it's vitally important that as a community we see that, yes, the real life experience of some of our residents can be challenging at times. However, that being said, the town's there to do their best to mitigate those issues and respond to them. They may not be as timely as some individuals would like, and I'm not picking on anybody at all, but they are as timely as physically possible. And thank you, Kevin, for that report and how well your people respond to stuff. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other cards, could I have a mover and seconder for this motion, please? Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. The council received the staff report in response to the notice of petition regarding Ramblewood Drive urbanization construction activities for information. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Next is the CAO's verbal update, January 27th, 2022 for COVID-19. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Good afternoon, members of council. I'm joined today by Michael Jennings, our communication officer, and Craig Williams, our deputy fire chief, who are going to provide updates from the provincial side of things and from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. So I'll let them go first, and then I'll provide an update from the command team. Thank you.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just 3 items that I wanted to share with council today. One is the Chief Medical Officer at Health for the province was to give an update this afternoon, and I hope to have that information to share, but I haven't seen it yet. So you'll have to settle for the email that I will circulate later in the day, hopefully. The other item I wanted to mention was on January the 20th, the province released details of the steps to cautiously and gradually ease public health measures starting January 31st, just around the corner. This is a phased approach, which involves 21 days between each step. And the key dates are January 31st, which I just mentioned, February 21, and March the 14th. Information about this opening can be found on our COVID-19 information page on the town website at wasagabeach.com. And the last item that I wanted to mention from the province, January the 18th, the government of Ontario said it is providing 21 days of electricity rate relief to support families and workers who are spending more time at home during the modified stage 2 public health measures. And as a result, the government has lowered electricity rates to the off-peak rate of 8.2 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's less than half the on-peak rate. And that concludes the items that I wanted to share today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mike, because he teased about having an email from the province. Will that be put, or an email updating us on what came out from the press conference today? Will that be also posted on the town's COVID information page?
I anticipate that it will. We put not all of the COVID releases because some of them get into a bit of minutia at times, but there is a general link to the Government of Ontario newsroom website on our COVID page that you can access. And the more pertinent ones, if I can use that term, yes, we do put the links on the site so they're easy to find.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We will welcome our Deputy Chief, Craig.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. Provincially, there have been just over 1 million laboratory confirmed cases of COVID-19 across the province, including 11,160 deaths. There are 608 patients in ICUs across the province currently with COVID-related illnesses, including 356 that are on ventilators. Of the ICU admissions, 49% are either unvaccinated or partially vaccinated. The provincial testing positivity rate has dropped in the last few weeks. It currently sits at 14.1%, and provincially 89% of the population over 5 years old is either fully or partially vaccinated. Within the Simcoe-Muskoka area, the total number of confirmed laboratory cases of COVID-19 is 30,910, which now includes 329 deaths. There are 57 individuals who are hospitalized in Simcoe and Muskoka due to COVID-19. The percent positivity in our region is 16.9%. And we have 90% of our acute beds currently occupied and 70% of our ICU beds that are occupied. There are 73 confirmed active outbreaks in the region, including 37 institutions, 20 congregate living settings, and 16 education settings. And locally, 85.7% of the population over 5 years old is fully or partially vaccinated. The Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit is strongly encouraging all eligible individuals to get their booster shots as soon as possible. Now, while the preference is to have people book their appointments online, it should be known that walk-ins are being accepted at nearly all Simcoe-Muskoka vaccine clinics while supplies last. And locally, there are a number of options for our residents overcoming in the next few days. So just very quickly, I wanted to mention them. Tomorrow at the Wasaga Beach Recplex, there'll be vaccine available from 10 to 5. On Saturday at the Collingwood New Life Church from 9 to 4. On Sunday at the Stainer Community Center from 9 to 4. Monday, the vaccine clinic is back in Collingwood at the New Life Church from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. And then finally on Tuesday, it returns to Wasaga Beach at the Recplex from 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. And of course, just a reminder that residents can visit the Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit website at any time for COVID-19 advice and updates. And this concludes my update.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Councillor Belanger?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a couple of questions just related to the rapid test kits. I know we had talked a while ago and you were expecting some in. I'm not sure on availability or who is eligible to receive them. And I also wanted to ask, I had a supply of test kits that I had provided to a number of businesses in town and people that needed them. And when I used the test myself on myself just to see how it worked, it was about a 15-minute process. And yesterday I visited my mother at an independent living institution in Waterloo. and they used a kit where they had the results back to me in about 2.5 minutes. And I didn't get the name of it, but I could. But it was a lot faster than I expected, and the actual piece that you put up your nose seemed to be quite a bit smaller, and it wasn't there wasn't any discomfort at all, and it worked really well. So I just was curious whether our kits have changed, or we're still using the tray where you wait for the red line to move for 15 minutes, or whether we're investigating something else. Thank you.
Craig?
Sure, through you to Councillor Belanger. Our kits have not changed. In fact, they're the same kits that were distributed through the school system to children. And we access kits through the Provincial Antigen Screening Program, which is a provincial resource. So we have received a small shipment of additional kits, and that is since sort of the beginning of December, where we were really, really short. So we do have a limited number of kits that we're able to use to maintain our own municipal operations, and we've been quite successful in using them in that way. I have touched base with a number of community partners, and one of the agencies that you and I previously spoke about has also received a shipment in the last month or so. So the most critical services do seem to be slowly getting additional antigen kits, but they still are quite hard to come by. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks and several months, the kits do become more available, because they are an excellent tool, and they really should be out in the community where people can access them.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you. Just a shout out. When I drove by Home Hardware earlier today, their big sign outdoors is announcing that they do have rapid test kits available, and I think there's a price on the sign of about $25. So it does sound like there are some available in town for those that are looking.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for advising what I was going to say with regards to Home Hardware. And I know if you check, some of the pharmacies may still have some too. Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Worship.
Okay, seeing nothing else for Craig. Thanks, Craig, and we'll go back to Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. So I'll provide a brief command team update. On Monday, January 31st, the town will reopen its indoor recreation spaces, including the Recplex, Primetime Club, Youth Center, and Arena. The YMCA will also be reopening to the public as well. Facilities will be limited to 50% capacity, and other public health measures remain, such as requiring proof of vaccination, physical distancing, and wearing masks. In-person recreation programs at the Recplex, the Youth and Active Living Center, will ramp up immediately. Mums and Tots will resume on February 2nd, and Aquafit will resume February 18th. Children's theater editions will take place February 12th and 13th weekend. User groups have been advised of the reopening and the continuation of public health requirements. The town continues to see staff absences due to the Omicron variant and the new isolation requirements. Currently, as of yesterday, we have 3 staff off. The peak so far was in the first week of January. Where possible and appropriate, employees in isolation have continued to work remotely, and staff continue to follow personal safety practices while at work. The Economic Development Officer is looking at initiatives to assist businesses, in particular restaurants, that have been hit hard with the latest round of shutdowns. She is working with events on a couple of events that would also help local businesses. Reports on these initiatives will be coming forward to Coordinated Committee in February. In closing, I note that January 25th, 2022 marks the 2-year anniversary that COVID was first detected in Canada. 2 months later, in mid-March, the province would experience its first lockdown. I recognize that people are tired of the COVID restrictions, the wearing of masks, not seeing loved ones, and the constant news about all things COVID. I think we're seeing a little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, that the impacts of COVID on the healthcare system are starting to flatten. Hopefully, as time marches on, we'll come to realize that the coronavirus is here to stay. We can't eliminate risk, but we can reduce it to levels we've always known to live with. In the meantime, I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we'll be successful in putting the pandemic behind us. Thank you, members of council. That concludes my comments. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, George. It's definitely been a long haul, and I think a lot of people are extremely tired of COVID. We're all kind of done, but hopefully there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question for our CAO. At a previous meeting, I had mentioned that with the new variant, the indication that cloth masks were not very effective, and that would there be any consideration for distributing a higher quality mask for some of our most vulnerable residents that may have financial situations? And I will point out that the mayor indicated that there is a concern about president and who would want masks at no charge, but you did indicate that you would take that back to the command team, and I just wondered what the outcome of that was. Thank you.
Mr. CAO.
Thank you. Thank you, Worship. I'll ask Craig Williams, our Deputy Fire Chief, to respond to that question. He's been keeping tabs on the PPE for the organization. Craig?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. CAO. We did have a discussion about it, and again, there isn't updated information regarding the use of N95s for the general public that's come from the health unit or from the province. I think we all recognize that where you can get a better mask is obviously a good thing. There was discussion about the financial impact that would have on the municipality because that hasn't been budgeted, and we believe that would be significant. Depending on where we would be able to get that mask, it could be in the ballpark of $4, $5 per mask type of thing. So it wouldn't take long to significantly drive up the budget, and I believe that's where it was left as that being a concern. So at this point, I believe the decision was made not to participate in the distribution of generally giving out N95s in the public.
Okay, Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up, I did also ask whether or not the costs could be eligible for the funding that we received from the province. And just for your information, I purchased 20 of the N95 masks from Costco at $2.50 a piece. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, did you have anything else, Mr. CAO?
Worship, no, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay, if I can have a mover and seconder for a motion that council received the January 27th, 2022 verbal COVID-19 update from the CAO for information. Councillor Foster, Councillor Kinney, all those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to community announcements, we'll start with Deputy Mayor Bray today, please.
Thank you very much. I'm kind of hoping there's going to be more to say next month. If restrictions start to ease, perhaps we will have a few more places to go. It was, I guess, a month full of meetings because the business of the town does continue to move forward. So there was coordinated committee of the whole, council meetings. At Simcoe County, there was a council meeting as well as the Audit and Finance Committee. A couple of really good things came up at our meeting this week, and I forwarded one to the treasurer for information and one to the CAO. So hopefully you'll see a little bit more of us sharing information from the county down to the municipalities. Women in business continue to meet virtually at this point, but it's great. Rotary continues to meet again virtually, but at least we're starting we're continuing to reach out to other people, which I think is really important as we go through very cold weather and very small houses at this point in the pandemic. The last thing that I wanted to point out was that I had taken part in the Wasaga Beach branding exercise. We have some consultants working on our brand, and it was a really good conversation that hopefully will lead to an exciting report when the consultants have finished tabulating everybody's input. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Councillor Foster.
Oh, I'll yield my time because my phone is running. If I can come back to me, please.
Okay, we'll go to Councillor Belanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, it's been a very quiet month for me, and I'm getting older, so I don't recollect any formal other than we did receive our new ladder truck, and we all got together for that. But it was a quiet month. Certainly, I had quite a number of residents contact me about different issues, followed up with the appropriate staff, and have a healed foot and back to hiking, and certainly updating residents on a regular basis of the beauty of our natural assets here in Wasaga Beach, and encouraging more people to to participate in active living. It's good, especially during COVID. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Worship. I appreciate that. Again, as people noted, it was a warm and lovely month to be outside walking oh no, it wasn't warm. Sorry, it was freezing. But it was beautiful to be out, and as Councillor Belanger said, our resources here, our natural resources, are second to none. So please take advantage of it safely. Went to the platform fire truck, receiving it, dealing with a bunch of residents' concerns. Generally, I've been isolating as much as possible, but as the Deputy Mayor said, the branding exercise was there, and it was very interesting conversation. Attended Library and Historical Advisory Committee. And I will remind people that, again, because we're in a lockdown until next week, or Monday, it's always good to use our local restaurants and do pickup. You could have done that the entire time of this. And as much as we have to support those with drive-throughs, those that don't, also, you can usually order ahead and just walk in and pick something up. So that's my report for January. Stay warm, stay healthy, everyone.
Hey, thank you. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Your Worship. I echo the sentiments of Councillor Foster with regards to going to our local businesses and take out. We took out last night. So we enjoy that. I have in the last month or so responded to a few calls from residents. I did attend the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and I'll just let council know that there's going to be some really good stuff coming out of that committee in the near future. All good people sitting around the table thinking very, very hard. To Councillor Belanger's photos that he posts on Facebook, they're great. They advertise the community, and we're very, very fortunate as individuals in this community to have such great nature. Myself and my wife enjoy cross-country skiing, and we do a lot of it locally. And I thought to myself, what way can I make it so that I give back to my community? So what I'm going to announce right now is, for every kilometer I cross-country ski this season, I'll be donating $1 to our local food bank. Last year we did over 500, so we're hoping to match that in this coming year. Your Worship, that would be my report, and I thank you.
Very nice, thank you. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Your Worship. A very quiet month for me. A few calls from residents, but very few. And of course, the ladder truck, not ladder truck, it's a platform truck this time. Great to see that on site.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I continue to work with residents in getting permits from the Conservation Authority. Attended 2 meetings of the Wasaga Builders Association's executive and general meeting during the month. I also had my interview with the branding strategy project. Attended the unveiling of the new aerial truck for the fire department, and we'll have that for another 25 years as we had the previous one. And just wanted to note about the passing. We had a moment of silence at the beginning, but former Mayor Walter Borthwick. The Wasaga Beach Rotary Club did a lovely tribute to Walter the other evening. Walter was the last charter member of the Rotary Club. I guess I'm next in line as the longest serving Rotarian in Wasaga Beach, but we had a lovely tribute. His wife and 3 daughters and his sister Nancy all attended. It was a Zoom meeting, and they all attended, and there was a lot of laughter, a few tears, and reminiscing about the old lip sync contest in Wasaga Beach that Rotary was involved with over the years. So it was very nice, and I had the pleasure of serving a term of council with Mayor Borthwick, and he was a great leader for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. As for myself, I attended the regular meetings that I do with regard to the arena and library and county and the normal ones here, as well as the branding consultants. And along with staff, we did meet with the climate action team. There's lots of discussion going on there. We have agreed that so many things have been brought out that there'll kind of be a series of staff reports coming forward. We'll start with coordinated committee, our next one in February, but it was far too much information for staff to get all in one report by then. So it'll be an ongoing discussion, and I thought it was very positive. And with that, we will move to notices of motion. We do have one here from Deputy Mayor Bray, and it will be discussed, I believe, at a coordinated committee, but I will read it today. The resolution is dealing with joint and several liability, whereas municipal governments provide essential services to the residents and businesses and in their communities, and whereas the ability to provide those services is negatively impacted by exponentially rising insurance costs, and whereas one driver of rising insurance costs is the legal principle of joint and several liability, which assigns wow, you gave me a tough one here, Deputy Mayor. Disproportionate liability to municipalities for an incident relative to their responsibility for it. And whereas the Government of Ontario has the authority and responsibility for the legal framework of joint and several liability, and whereas the Premier of Ontario committed to review the issue in 2018 with a view of helping municipal governments manage their risks and costs, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, on behalf of municipal governments, has provided recommendations to align municipal liability with the proportionate responsibility for incidents and capping awards. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Wasaga Beach does hereby support AMO's recommendations, and further it be resolved that the town of Wasaga Beach does hereby call on the Attorney General of Ontario to work with municipal governments to put forward a plan of action to address joint and several liability before the end of the government's current term so that municipalities can continue to offer high quality services to their communities. And again, that will come to our next meeting for discussion. Notice or motions where notice has been previously given. We have none. With that, we go to calling of committee meetings. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. So for the month of February, February 10th is the date for the coordinated committee meeting, and it starts at 9 a.m. and that'll be held virtually. The committee of the whole meeting is on Thursday, February 17th, again starting at 9 a.m. with a virtual meeting. And the council meeting for the month of February is scheduled for the Thursday after that, which is February 24th, and that will commence at 2 p.m. and that will be held virtually as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to bylaws. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. Resolved that the following bylaws be received and be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered as follows. 2022-01, a bylaw to adopt a multi-year accessibility plan, 2022 to 2026. 2022-02, a bylaw to authorize the execution of lease agreement 50 Mosley Street. 2022-03, a bylaw to adopt a policy for grants and sponsorships to organizations and to rescind bylaw 2012-66. 2022-04, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2021-110, being a bylaw to establish fees and charges to be collected by the corporation of the town of Wasaga Beach. 2022-05, a bylaw to deem parts of registered plan 1450 Town of Wasaga Beach, not to be registered plan of subdivision, lot 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 identified on plan 1450. 2022-06, a bylaw to authorize an interim tax levy for 2022. 2022-07, a bylaw to amend the Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2003-60 as amended, Pacific Developments, Inc., and 1415069 Ontario Limited, part of Concession 13, Part Lot 4 ESR RP 51R25671 Part 1, no municipal address assigned, and part of Concession 13, Part Lot 5 ESR RP 51R29467 Part 1, 775 Sunnydale Road South, and on Concession 13, Part Lot 5 ESR RP 51R29467 Part 2, 801 Sunnydale Road South. 2022-08, a bylaw to amend Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended, Wasaga Beach Ventures, Inc., part of Block A, Plan 9123219 Mosley Street. 2022-09, a bylaw to authorize the stop-up, closure, and sale of a portion of the road allowance known as River Road West, more particularly described as part of the north half of Lot 25, Concession 8, former Township of Floss, now Town of Wasaga Beach, being Part 1 on Plan 51R43273. And 2022-10, a bylaw to authorize the execution of a letter of agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Transportation for the Province of Ontario and the Town of Wasaga Beach for funding provided under the dedicated gas tax funds for the public transportation program. Any discussion on any of those? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We'll now be moving into closed session. If I could have a mover and seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster resolve that pursuant to section 239(2)A and I of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the January 27th, 2022 regular council meeting will move into closed session to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board and a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And we'll just take a couple minutes, Dina, while you do that, and let us know when we're in closed session, but we'll just take a 5-minute break.
And we're live, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. We are now back in open session. We have a motion that council receive the external board meeting minutes of October 28th, 2021, November 25th, 2021, and December 9th, 2021, provided in closed session for information. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Closed session minutes. Resolve that council receive the following closed session reports as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Regular meeting of council, December 21st, 2021, closed session minutes. Coordinated committee, January 13th, 2022, closed session minutes. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Wells. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And resolve that council confirm the direction provided in closed session to the CAO pertaining to beachfront development matters. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Watson and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And the confirmatory bylaw, resolve that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Thursday, January 27th, 2022 be received and be deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered 2022-11. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.